Okay, let's call the meeting to order. The first thing is the approval of minutes. Do we want to approve the minutes of the, I guess we have several of them. 5 different. First one would be June 13th, 2016. We tabled it from the July 5th meeting. The reason we tabled it is because Larry was going to be absent, but then Larry's absent again tonight, so what do we want to do on that?
I think we go ahead and approve them. Do you need a motion for each set?
Yep. So for the June 13th, 2016 minutes,
I'll make a motion to approve June 13th, 2016 minutes.
okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? Go right around the room.
Aye.
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 Okay, now for the June 23rd meeting, 2016. Do we have a motion?
I will move that we approve the June 23rd, 2016 special meeting minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay.
Aye.
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 Okay, now we have one in the June 24th as well.
Correct.
Okay, June 24th, 2016. Table from July 5th. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll move that we approve the June 24th, 2016 special meeting minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay. And any discussion? Go ahead.
Aye.
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 Okay. And the June 28th, 2016 meeting. Do we have a motion to approve that? I'll move that we approve that. Do we have a second? Need a second.
I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Payne.
Aye.
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 And now the July 5th, 2016, so the last meeting. Do we have a motion to accept these minutes?
I will make a motion to accept the July 5th, 2016 minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, Reese?
Aye.
Kip?
Aye.
Okay, now approval of financial statements. Did we get a chance to take a look at those? Any questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve the financial statements? Any chance to look through them?
I'll move that we approve the financial statements.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Reese,
Aye.
Kip,
Aye.
and Noel.
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda.
Mr.
we'll-
Jacobs,
Yeah.
can you speak up just a little bit?
Oh,
You're talking
not
very quiet.
projecting?
Not projecting.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll try. Okay, next on the agenda is Adam Thomas, the Washburn Park Board, giving parking lot to the city of Washburn. Come on down.
Well, not the parking lot, but more so the alleyway or the access road as it exists behind the pool and the Memorial Hall. I think you all know that that alleyway was vacated. The road as it exists was not where the alley was supposed to be. And so the alley's been vacated, now the road is just an access road that belongs to the park board. We'd like to know if we sign this piece of land back over to you that you've accepted.
And I suppose part of it is because there's gonna be specials on it.
Yes, basically, yeah, or, you know, head off any like conflicts in the future, but,
Yeah.
you know, relations between the park board and the city are fine, but you never know what's gonna happen in the future. But, so yeah, we just like to, if it's agreeable to sign that piece of land over.
Well, I move that we, take responsibility for that, what would that be called?
I guess I call it an access road right now.
Access road from the park district. You know, someone's going to have to pay those specials anyway, and either we're going to pay it, or the park board's going to ask for money to pay it. And it is actually just a road.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Anybody? Okay, if there's no discussion, Reese?
Aye.
Kit?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
Very good. Thanks, Em.
Thank you.
Carrie,
Hi.
you wanna come on up? That way we can see on the camera and everything?
I heard that you have some copies, I've seen what you have, so I did bring some as well. In 2014, we wanted to go ahead and straighten our property line. It was at an angle, and we wanted to make it straight so that our lot that our house is on is square, and so is the house next door to us, which is our rental house. And that way, if we want to ever sell that rental house someday, the lots are all squared out. And we were charged $500 for that, and I think that's a little high for straightening a property line. And I'm wondering if this $500 flat submission is more for, like when Elnora Renner, you know, donated all that land up by the new Methodist church. And they had to, that was all new property, and they had to make a special plat for that, and it was all brand new. Whereas ours has already been pretty much set. We were just straightening the property line. And we had to pay for the surveyor and this $500. And I don't know.
Are you asking to cut it in half or completely
Well, I was
eliminate
thinking
it, or?
well, I don't know. I think what the city needs to do is figure out what this plat submission is and what lot splitting is. Because I'm thinking that at the very most, it should have been the lot splitting application. And even at that, I don't know. Or maybe it's a zoning request. I don't know. But I really think that $500 to straighten a property line is extremely excessive.
This was done a couple of years ago. It was started with the previous auditor, and then it was carried on over to me. And I guess I do agree with Carrie. Carrie and I had discussed it a number of times, that as we got into it a little bit more, that it looked like it was more, the replat is more designed for like a subdivision type situation. But when we asked the planning and zoning,
And that was at
if
the
it
time
was
too, when the mayor had quit and everything too.
Yep.
So everything was in upheaval,
But we did request of the planning and zoning if they wanted to consider it more of a lot split than a replat, and they chose to keep it as a replat at that time. So it was left at the 500 as opposed to the 200 lot splitting.
But that was before, right? Was that recently or before?
This was in 2014.
Oh, okay. And at that time, they said leave it at 500.
At that time, it was left as a replat.
Yeah, it does seem a little excessive.
I mean, it'd be different if it wasn't already platted out, you know, I mean, we were just, it was at an angle, so it was really awkward. And we
They
just had
did,
this-
there was one area that was taken from, that was unplatted and then brought into, but, since then, we have had others that go, split up their property or rearrange their property and so forth, and we have not done the replat.
Has this planning and zoning application changed at all since 2014? So they'd still have these same checks? I'd be interested to see if that committee has any clarification on what the difference is present day. But you didn't talk to the planning and zoning this year? It just
Not
came to
this
the-
year. No, it was recommended that I just, start here.
Anything else?
Do we want to see if planning and zoning wants to look at this and give their recommendation?
Well, I
Or should we just take care of
think that they already have.
2014.
14.
Yeah.
And have the people that you said are doing, rearranging their property and stuff, did they fill out this form too?
They do. They've been addressed as lot splits.
Okay.
Oh, so then they're being charged as a lot split.
We've just had a couple of them.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't come up a lot. We've never had another full replat of what goes went through.
I'll move that we split the difference and refund 250 for the, since it was kind of line removed. Split the difference.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Oh, for purpose of discussion, I'll second that. And the only thing that I'm wondering is if we shouldn't amend that to make it lot splitting application and keep it at 200. Then that way we're not making up new rules. You know what I mean? We can go with a lot split, it's $200.
But you didn't split the lot.
Just straight?
She added to the lot.
Well, we straightened the property line.
Right, but you added to your, you know what I mean? That's not the original lot, you know what I'm saying? You didn't take like, this is your original lot line, you didn't come in here and split it.
No.
That would be a lot split. To me,
But I did.
here you redid it, so.
But this whole thing is ours, so technically, if you wanna get technical, we did split it.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
you split it like here then, not? Or this is all,
Right there.
this is all one piece?
That's
This
all.
was the original line, and this
Okay.
is the one where we put it in.
So you
but this is our
replotted it for this
property,
line.
And this is our property, so technically, we did split it. And, yeah.
They went from 3 parcels to 4 parcels.
I'd like to amend the motion. You look surprised.
You can't amend her motion.
It's gotta fail first.
Okay.
So if it had been a true like a lot split, it would have kept that same line, is kind of what you're saying, Kit, it would have
Right.
retained.
the angle of everything would have stayed the same, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Or am I thinking backwards? Like if you would have split that lot, you know, like here's like one parcel here, here's another, and there's, wouldn't the angle of that would have, wouldn't that kept going?
No, it wouldn't have. May I use your pen for a minute? I
Sure.
can use my paper, but, okay, this is our property, okay? There is, it was, and this is the coulee,
Okay.
and there's a little white house, and then here's a garage, for lack of a better word. Because the house isn't that big, but the garage is. Okay, so the property line was like this. Okay, and there's, you can't do anything over here anymore. This was straight, and this is straight, and this is crooked.
Okay.
So what we did is we straightened it, and now, you know, we have these, but we just straightened it, that's all we did. We didn't, and now we got this extra piece in there, but anyway, that's what it was. And you can't go this way, because
Sure.
you're gonna have this weird piece over here.
Any more discussion? Anybody? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Reese?
Nay.
Kit?
No.
Aye.
And no. Okay, I will make a motion that we change it from a plat submission to a lot splitting application. Which would change it to $200.
So that would be a refund of the 300.
Yeah. Any discussion now? Any discussion? Okay, so if there's no discussion. Reese? Oh, there was no second, I'm sorry.
I'll call for a second.
Call for a second, I'm sorry. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second. Now we'll have discussion. Any discussion?
I guess I would like to see for the city to suggest back to the planning and zoning for like that, either the zoning one or the lot splitting one for them, for our, that we would like to see that reduced down to get their judgment on this, you know, again, I mean, this has been 2 years and it's been done and over with, and now we're bringing it back to the table too, so how many more people is this gonna bring back 2 years prior, you know, where you know, it's just, it's one of them things, I mean, I hate that it happened to you, I really do, that it didn't go the right way it should have, but I think I really think that we should just maybe send it back to planning and zoning with our recommendation and kind of get what they're really truly thinking too, and maybe if you could go to that meeting and, you know, explain, you know, really what truly did.
Because usually, doesn't it have
Yeah,
to?
they have to come back.
Yeah. But I think they're getting, you know, the, kind of the wrong idea, like how I was incorporating it there too, I think, but that's how I feel about it.
Any more discussion?
That's a really good point. Yeah. Take it back to planning and zoning and see what they, yeah.
Okay, more discussion? There's no more discussion? Reese?
I say nay.
Kip?
No.
Noel?
No.
Yes. Okay. And what we'll do is bring it there, and then we'll bring it back, so it will be done.
We actually have a meeting tomorrow night at 7.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, tree branches.
Brian?
Brian?
Stepped out.
Okay, we'll go to the next
He
one.
did.
Proposed music, Brian? Okay. Floor coverings for the gym floor. And it was tabled from July 5th. And I guess this would be Reese and
Yeah. At the last meeting, we had asked for a rebid. At the last meeting, we asked for a rebid from SP&E flooring, floor covering to adjust it without the automatic roll-up, and then to also ask about freight.
Yep.
And the discussion has come to the point where the freight, it's from Indiana, is that correct,
That is
Sharon?
correct,
So
it's
we'll
from
have to-
Indiana, so there's no difference in freight.
So the only thing we're saving on is the automatic system.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation?
I recommend that we go with SP&E. I think at the last meeting, it was Noel that mentioned that it's a local company. It would benefit us to have that local individual for maintenance support. So I have a recommendation that we go ahead and purchase from SP&E via the quote that we have before us from July 14th.
Okay. Okay, we have the recommendation. Do we have a motion for the floor covering for the Memorial Hall?
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Any discussion from anyone? No. Good with it? Okay. Reese?
Aye.
Kip? Joelle?
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Okay, next will be city sign. Yep, city sign.
We had put in the budget for the city, or for a new sign out front here, and we received a bid of close, we put the budget at 2,500, and then we had, our bid was about that much, and that's just to put new letters on the front of the brick. And then Commissioner Val, another option that you would like to discuss in conjunction with forestry?
Yeah, with the forestry, we ended up getting a couple grants for like trees and doing this stuff out here that we had talked about prior. And with that, one was a grant that we had used, but we're gonna turn that back, right? Was that
Just part of it.
part of it, right? Yeah.
Because we were looking at doing part with the sign to, we wanted a different sign in front.
Yeah, do something different out here. We're gonna get rid of these bricks, them dungy, ugly looking things, and kind of build something up with some landscaping brick, and then on top of that, we'll backfill all that in. And we can plant our trees or flowers, whatever up there, and a nice sign in the front of it, you know, like, I don't know, kind of chrome letters or, you know, something like that, but basically redo this out here if we can. And we're kind of looking at, if anybody knows how these stacks over here, how they're in the ground, it'd be greatly appreciated to let us know if they're cemented or, Mark, do you know? Do you remember, or
You can talk to Tom Neary, probably.
he had no idea?
He wasn't involved.
No, I asked him that day of that meeting and he didn't know.
Brian?
Brian, do you know these stacks out here, are they cemented in? Or are they just dug in? Okay.
I would say they're cemented in. Why do you want them?
Well, we were thinking about maybe taking them out of there, cause nobody can see them. And put them over here in this, like in the back of the sign, the new thing that we wanna build up here.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, at least they're, you know, somebody can see that stuff and enjoy some of it. I mean, you know, I mean,
Right.
you got decoration back here and it's hidden by trees, nobody can see it. It just looks like there's two black pipes sitting back there. You know? Try to bring it out. So that's what we were looking at, that's why we were gonna hold off on that one half a grant. And, wait till next year and get with the city and that's what we were looking at, I guess. Did I miss anything? Do you fill in, Sharon?
No, that was what we were looking at.
So that's what we're looking at, the sign, is just completely get rid of that and start from scratch and put something decent in there. Try to fix, I mean, even fix that light out there, you know, that box, that light box, that, we can use that to shine on here yet too, but it's just, do something different altogether. It might be a little bit more than the 2,500, you know, but when it's done, at least it'll look.
Okay, so that's your recommendation, table this for now and.
Right, let's, yeah, table this for now and this is what we're looking at and, we're gonna start getting some quotes, try to find some people that, you know, for next year, I guess, you know.
Any other comments? Okay, back to tree branches.
I talked to Clayton from the fire department, fire chief, and he said he'd be willing to work with us and to possibly do it. He wasn't sure when, let it dry a little bit more, and then we'll burn it out some night with the fire department. And the other things, I looked into that fire, that pit and all that. By the time we got done, we'd have a backhoe, we'd be digging a hole, creating a hazard for anybody that was dumping grass back there and stuff. And we're still left with getting the ashes and everything else out, so I think if we can get the fire department to, you know, keep doing this, I think we'll be money ahead and time ahead too. And then Clayton had said he had talked to you, Noel, about kind of the same deal.
Okay. And then you guys will work out the timeline?
Yep. He said we're gonna have to really wait for a day at least a couple days, he
Yeah.
figured, just in case.
And then also, the next thing would be proposed museum work.
Yeah, no, with Dwayne, that meeting, before he had said he was gonna take care of it, I'm not sure what that meant. He was gonna hire somebody, from what it sounded like. You guys had interjected that you would take care of it, and he said, don't worry about it, I've got it. Now, I thought afterwards, does that mean the money aspect, or the actual hire, that he had somebody hired?
I think Larry went through it with Val, didn't he? And Larry was gonna look into it?
That's what I had heard, but I never heard anything back.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably under Reese's portfolio.
Correct.
So maybe you
Yeah,
guys can work together along with
we had
Dwayne
talked-
and.
Yeah, we had talked in the alley here the other day about that, and we just kind of get up to speed on it between the two of us.
What is there to be done there yet?
Well, anything that we'd had before was pretty much done, except for possibly some work around the windows, the framing, and then the painting. I don't know if that's what they intended to do there either, because it started to feel pretty good.
I think they were also talking about some work inside as well, right?
There was something to do with where the ceiling tile
Yeah.
had come down. Yeah, and I'm not sure what that was involved.
Okay.
Any ceiling shot that's
I think
water
it-
leakage
I
and
think
coming
it
in
had-
yet?
I think they've had some upstairs, yes.
Was all that, was there plaster and stuff that had fallen down too? Did that all get taken care of or?
Nope, nope.
So that's all still in a
All
pile up
on the-
there?
Yep, that's all, that's nothing, we did everything on the outside, removed the trees and everything else.
Right.
That was it. And then the windows too, we never have done anything with the one side of the windows. And I don't know if they just want to re-put up plywood again, or if Dwayne had in mind that he was gonna actually put windows in the thing.
Yeah, because there was money set aside for that
Mhm.
in the budget.
I've never received
So,
any invoice. I mean,
yeah.
we've never paid out, so.
So, Reese, you'll,
Yeah, I'll follow up and
Okay.
meet up with you later. We'll
Okay.
talk to Dwayne and maybe have an update at the next meeting.
okay. Anything else on that? Anything else?
The only other thing was the Memorial Hall. Now, you just wanna do the east side of painting it?
Yeah, we were looking at that, it was looking pretty rough on the
Yep.
east side, yeah.
You just wanna do the same color paint?
I would think so. Reese?
Do you have any recommendations? that-
I think so, rather than have to start having a two-tone.
Sure, just continue with that color.
Yeah, see if we can have it. wagon will match it up for us and get that. As far as buildings, that's it. The ball field, I called the day that we were doing hydrants, or I wasn't, Zach and was doing it, but anyway, they had, Eric from the baseball legion had called. The water came out of the culvert and went straight over and went directly onto the field, so they almost have to have a dike there. And even if we dug it lower, it instantly comes out, and all they did was a couple hydrants, or actually they did one, and it ran out all the way in front of the dugout, all the way down third baseline, and halfway around the backside. So we almost gotta get a dike there.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think what we'll do though is let's make sure that we still get that dug out, and then we'll try to dike that up a little bit, or have them dike it up.
Yeah.
And between the combination, we should be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, because I thought, well, if we do dike it right as it comes out, that's fine. But like you said, once it gets to the backside of that dugout, then you're gonna end up with the same problem
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
So, anyway.
Okay,
Okay.
anything else, Dirk?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, thanks.
Can I back up to
Yeah.
the memorial building? So you're painting the side of it? Are you painting
The
the whole,
bottom.
where are you painting at?
The bottom on the outside,
On the parking lot
it's all
side?
starting to chip off and everything like
And are
that.
you hiring somebody to paint it or?
They were talking.
No, I think we can do that
You
in
guys are
August, just as
painting?
long as we got a paint picked and everything else, I think. It's not too high up. I mean, we can get on the scaffolding and move around there. If you start getting around the backside now all the way up, then we're talking a different story.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is the types of communication and contact with commissioners, and that's with you, Reese?
Yeah, I just wanted some quick discussion on this. I signed the oath and joined the commission on June 28th. And shortly after that, auditors had sent out just a contact directory. And it's pretty basic, but it's very valuable, especially to myself. So it lists all the employees, key stakeholders to the city, their phone numbers, portfolios, who has what, and then commission members, and their phone numbers, and then email. So from the time that I had signed on to the commission, I've received a bunch of, information via email, whether it be agendas, contracts, information that we need to look at for the meeting. I was curious, with discussion from the commission, if we can have a consistent way of communication. Recently, Larry had requested that he no longer have emails, but have everything mailed to him with USPS. And so the question is that the consistent, most efficient way? Can the commission agree on something, or are we fine with that route of communication having to be just a little different? So if we want to discuss that, that's all really the topic was about.
I like the emails.
Yeah, it don't matter to me.
Yeah, it's difficult when one of the members isn't here to
Right.
discuss why we would do it the other way.
Right, and maybe there's complete benefit to that, but the point is that if we're going to do it one way, I think it should all be the same. That would be consistent at least. So,
And the reason we bought those iPads is so everything would be electronic. We wouldn't have so much paper,
sure. Okay.
and now it seems like we're going back to paper. And I know today we had to because electricity was out. So, any other thoughts?
What's easier for you guys, for Joan and Sharon?
Well, email is easier and it also, we have that date and time stamp of when things were sent, and then we have the electronic record of it. And then, like when we sent the packet on Thursday, Sharon was just walking in the door from sending it to Commissioner Thomas, and Noel called and said, I have an agenda item. And so, were Commissioner Thomas here, there's a number of items on the agenda that he would not have been aware of. If any of you don't want to use a personal email, we can certainly set up a city email that, you can use. if that's a concern, that you don't want the emails coming into your homes or using your personal equipment, we opt for that. We also used to have folders here in the office where the commissioners would come in and just get all the information prior to the meeting and take. But email is definitely the easiest, it's the fastest, it's an immediate sharing of the information that we need to get out, and it gets our business done a lot more effectively.
Yeah, I would definitely think it would be nice to be uniform. But I think the only way we're gonna be able to be uniformed is to discuss this when everyone's here. You know,
Can we table this and have it on the agenda for the
Yep.
next meeting? Okay, sounds good. Thank you, just wanted.
Yep,
It
thanks.
only works if you check it.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
if you don't check it, then it's not, you're not gonna get it, you know, and that's the only thing there. If you get it in the mail, usually check your mail. That's the only got it.
yeah,
But, I know, that's the only other thing.
yeah.
It's like
It all depends on who you are.
That's right, I
You
know.
know,
Some of us do, some
Like
don't.
these guys are probably used to their computer and that email every day, and
I
The
know,
iPhone.
some don't, I know.
Same thing with the phone though, if you don't answer the phone, you run into the same problem.
That's right, too.
Yeah. When I
So
see you
it
call and I
works
don't
both
answer my
ways,
phone.
I know.
Thank God for caller ID.
Okay, next thing, Kayla Sweeney regarding Tree on Boulevard, if you wanna come on up.
Yeah.
Done deal.
Thanks for being patient. We have pictures and everything.
Do you have the pictures?
Yep.
Oh, even though the power was out.
Okay, so first the tree. This tree is apparently diseased, it's ugly, it needs to come down. I've been told that there's a tree board, that gets a certain amount of money per year to help
it's
with,
the forestry board.
okay, that helps with the cost of removing diseased trees on the boulevard. I'm wondering if we would qualify for something like that.
I believe it's on the boulevard, so it's our responsibility.
Correct.
Okay. So then, I don't have to worry about this tree?
Well, I assume that if it's a diseased tree that's in tough looking shape, that we need to take it down on the boulevard. That's what we've done in the past. Is that correct, Joe?
Correct. We usually have wait till we have a number of trees that need to be taken care of or different areas, and then we do them all at one time.
Yep. Matter of fact, is we have several down in the cooling we'll be doing, so.
'Cause I know nothing about all that, but I know there's one behind it that I have to get out that's diseased. Like, well, I don't know, does this sort of thing, it spreads to other trees? I don't know.
What makes you say it's disease, just because there's parts dying?
I was told it was diseased.
I don't know, I mean,
I have no idea why I say it's diseased, other than that I was told it was.
oh, yeah, no, I just, you know, the dead branches and stuff, I didn't know.
It's, yeah, it's not in good shape at all.
So does anybody have an issue with that tree being removed on the boulevard? Then the next thing would be the sidewalk at 414 Main Avenue, and that is the area this summer we're going to be replacing sidewalk, but Joan has some more information as far as the city's portion versus the landowner's portion of paying for that.
Well, last year when we started the sidewalk project, and just for you, we put the sidewalks out for bid and the prices were too high. And so we just decided to wait for this year and rebid the project. We had set aside $40,000 to be used for sidewalks in town. And then Commissioner Thomas put out developed like a 50-50 program where we sent letters to all the residents, and if they sent back their letter of interest and whatnot by a certain date, then they would qualify to have their sidewalks paid for at 50%. So we're just in the process of rebidding that right now. That's going to the newspaper next week. I have it right here.
But the problem we have is they didn't own the house before. They weren't able to be a part of that program. So I suppose we're gonna have to decide if that's gonna be an option, right? So do we wanna allow them to be involved in that program with the 50-50 split as far as paying for that improvement in the sidewalk there?
And the previous owner who would have gotten the notifications, it wasn't a matter of her saying no or saying yes. She was just medically at a point to where she just did not answer. She does not live in Washburn anymore. And so the notices just went unheeded.
Any thoughts?
I think if she's concerned enough to bring it to the commission, we should allow her to be of the 50-50.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
Okay, we have a motion, and Reese has a second. Any discussion?
I don't think it's right, I guess, nothing against you by any means, or no, nothing, I just don't. You bought the house, I guess, you know, it sucks, I don't know, I guess I got mixed emotions about it. I mean, yeah, it was previous owners and that deal, now here you are with this deal, and I can see the concerns about the tree or something like that, but, I mean, as far as the sidewalk goes, I guess
Well, you know, and part of it is the sidewalk got pushed up from there being a diseased tree here that wasn't removed in time. You know, the city had a diseased tree here that wasn't removed, and so the roots pushed it up or whatever, and that's fine. I guess from my point of view, and this is just my point of view, it's not, I mean, you probably won't care, I guess, but, you know, we're putting forth an awful lot of money to make this property, to make this property look good again. You know, it's been an eyesore in the community for an awful long time. My husband and I are gonna be working really hard to make this not an eyesore, you know, so I guess that was, is it still fair for us to get in on this that was, you know, is it fair for us to get in on something that was proposed before we bought the property? No, I guess not, but we're just kind of asking, you know, would that be allowable since we're trying to improve the community? I guess, if that makes a difference.
I get it, but it was your choice to buy it, you know what I mean? It wasn't our choice to, you know what I'm saying? It was your choice, you guys went and bought it, and, you know, you didn't have to buy it.
I will say with Larry's motion when he had it before, as far as this idea, this is a continual project and fund. So for example, if there's another area of town that they feel is in bad shape, plus the city looks at it and thinks that it's a hazard, they would also be allowed to get in on this fund, 50-50 match. So yes, she missed the timeline for her part of the street, okay?
But this is gonna be an ongoing thing,
This is
year
gonna be
after
an
year
ongoing-
deal, it ain't just this
Yeah,
one deal.
It's just not just this project, it's an ongoing, if there's hazards or the city deems that it's in tough shape. Any comments at all?
The other thing too, Kip, that's where that tree, remember when we took that tree out, remember where it heaved up there?
Yep.
She's gotta fix that at some point, you know, because it's becoming liable. So then if she doesn't get this cement thing finished out, can we at least remove that and level that out? Those two panels of concrete? So that it's not, at least they can walk across it?
Right, yeah, I suppose it, it'd have to be.
Okay, because that's the other thing, if it's not remedied through that, you know, that grant or whatever you wanna call it,
Yeah.
we'll have to still straighten out. the sidewalk.
Well, here's another deal, on this deal where people applied for it, but we denied the bids, won't everybody have to reapply when we get the new bids in?
I don't believe so. I think they've already applied for it, and they, at that point, they didn't know what the bids were at that point either. And then we denied the bids, and we're gonna be asking for new bids. So, I don't believe so.
I believe this this section is slated to be,
It was included, yeah.
yeah, So it's, according to the plans, if we go by the same sidewalks that we were going to do last year, this sidewalk is being replaced and she will be assessed for those repairs. That's,
Right.
Now it just depends on if it's gonna be a 50-50 match or if she's paying all of it, because she missed the time.
the letters that went out stated that your area has been identified in need of improvement, and so the work is going to be done. If you return the letter by X date, you will qualify to have part of it taken
Yeah.
care of. If not, then, is that right, Jasper?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was like for last year though. Will that make, I guess what I'm getting at, will that make a difference? Cause that was all last year's stuff and we denied the bids. We didn't do nothing with it, right? Now here we are this year. Now we're going out for bids again. So wouldn't that kind of start this process all over again?
Not necessarily, I mean, your fund and the idea behind it is still there, you haven't spent any of the money, so.
Well, if nothing has been done and we cancel the bids, then I would see no reason why you couldn't get in on it, because nothing is going on. You know, really.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Reese? Kit?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
And I'll say aye as well. Thank you. And Sharon, am I loud enough now? Okay, look, can we jump ahead a little bit, so then that way the Webbers can
Take your screaming
get
kids home.
Get home at some time? You guys wanna come up, or? Are you guys going to talk as well?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Jamie and I met a couple weeks ago now, maybe last week. I don't remember which day it was, but the corner over here, right across the street, where Jamie has a shop, there's a ramp to the sidewalk, and it's right on his parking area, right in front of his shop, and you end up driving over that every time when you pull in with your trailer and your truck. And he was wondering if there's a way that we could maybe level that off to at least have it easier for his trailer and his truck to go over. When we looked at the flow lines, it's kind of an angled, diagonal flow line in front of his shop too. We're going to be putting a valley gutter in there down the street on night. I guess what he was asking is if we could maybe get rid of that concrete there and straighten the flow line out so it matches the other the street across the street, and make it easier for him to get his vehicle in and out in front of his shop.
Does everybody know what they're talking about? It's just right out here
Right
over the corner.
across.
That little part that chops out, they want to remove that, so it's straight.
Well, I think we kind of talked about some different things in our first, I mean, we've talked about taking it out, visualize it. I guess you could pass that around, but that's a picture of that. Thing is, I mean, it's a handicap accessible ramp that really goes to nothing, and then on the backside, it's kind of a trip hazard, you know, so my question is, when they blacktop that, can they blacktop it flush and we could just leave that there? So that lip isn't there and it's not a trip hazard, and I don't have to bump over top of it. Because when the water runs down, it doesn't run down right there, it runs down.
And you'd take that out, right?
Well, the ramp part he's talking about, he's right, there's no sidewalk on that side of the road. And we didn't have it slated to take that piece of concrete out, so this would be something that's outside the scope of the project. That's why we'd want to ask you guys here in the meeting to bring it up. But we are putting a valley gutter down there, so that would, and the valley gutter has to kind of angle over to get to the flow line. And
what he's showing you on that picture there, when we put the blacktop back in, we could actually ramp it up so it's at least flush to the top. And then when you said with clearing snow, and when it freezes and thaws in the winter, it kind of
Trying to move snow,
I just thought-
it's not fun either for moving snow purposes, so.
Reese, I don't know if you're aware, it used to be an ambulance bay over there. It's the big ramp.
Sure. Okay. And then, you know, to add to this, I don't know what the red channel would be, but like on the front, just right there where that grass median is, I was wondering if we could do some, if I could take that out at some point, not right now, but at some point, kind of make that a driveway, or make a, you know, parking, you know, for parking in front of the shop. Because, I mean, snow gets dumped there, then I'm responsible for raking up all the stuff that you guys dump there. If you guys dump your snow there, then I'm responsible for raking it all back out. Well, if we turn it into a parking lot, or even if we make it concrete, at least it could just all flow out, I don't have to mess with it. So that's eventually kind of like a 5-year plan, that's what I'd like it to evolve to.
So it'd be like parallel parking kind of.
Yeah, kind of just like how you park here, just on the other side of the road, instead of parking.
Mommy.
Just be able to pull in and park there. I mean, whatever it would be to, how do I say it, I mean, I don't want to do anything that's not appropriate, it just has to be whatever you guys find is factor to grade, or I mean, to whatever your standard would be, but that's what I'd like to proceed with, is that, see it happen that way, I guess.
You know, back to the corner, what would you recommend then? Is it better off just taking the whole thing out, or is it better?
Well, if we did take the concrete out, we could at least straighten the flow line, like the way it runs down in front of the shop there. So it wouldn't be angling over to catch the curb around the corner here. That's the improvement we could make. It's just gonna cost more money to remove that concrete and then put back in a valley gutter, or if we put a concrete apron back in too. And I don't know if you guys would wanna put a sidewalk eventually down that boulevard. You know, that's another thing that you would have to consider if that's something you'd want in the future, so.
I guess I would recommend investing in the new concrete ADA concrete right there, just so we can straighten out the street. Because it sticks out further than the curb line up the street. So if we redid it, the valley gutter going up the street would be straight. And I guess I like things to be as square as possible. Rather than having a valley gutter running at kind of an angle, I think it would look a lot better for a little bit of investment in concrete. And then, yeah, the pavers can accommodate his request to, you know, so he's not driving over the curb line. That shouldn't be a big deal.
I guess as far as cost of the project, I mean, it's kind of part of my property, I brought this up. I mean, I can remove it, I could, you know, if I need to pay a portion of it, I'm not asking for something free, I will pay for this. Or, you know, because it's something I want done. So, I mean, I'm not asking for a handout.
What do you guys think as far as?
My recommendation is to redo just that little portion of concrete there so we can line it up with the curb line up the street. That's the only additional cost that we would have on the project.
Is that gonna play effect on that light pole at all? It won't be that far in, will it?
No, I don't think so.
In fact, I think if we're straightening it out, I think it moves the
No,
radius out, if anything.
Just the chunk of concrete there in the corner is all we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with straightening that out and, you know, doing it the right
This is a shop right here, and just be straightening out this kind of angles out and over, and it'd make this straight. So this is the little piece of concrete we're talking about. And if we did remove it, we'd be able to put an actual ADA ramp in there, as well, just like everywhere else in town where we have.
But it'd be pretty much flat.
Well, it'd be kind of flat at the curb. The pavers could either make the asphalt come up to the back of the curb so you can get over it, or we could also lay the curb down. But that's something we can discuss, I guess, too.
So is that a change order then?
No, it would just be a quantity difference. So it won't be a change order.
What do you guys think?
So that's part of it, and then there's another request in there, so we're looking at them separately.
I think the first one we need to deal with.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then-
Just wanna make sure. I would think that makes sense to straighten it out.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, with or without what Jamie was asking for, I think it would just make sense to straighten it out to begin with. So do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the driveway access, remove concrete on northeast corner of 9th Street and Main Avenue. And install the 10 feet of alley gutter on radius to allow better access to parking area.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, Reese?
Aye.
Yes, right.
Aye.
And I. And part two.
This is Jamie's property on Second Avenue. You got your shop there on Second and Sixth, I think, right?
Yes. Yep.
And on the north side of Second Avenue, he would like to basically remove more curb that we hadn't planned on removing, and make it a mountable type or a roll curb type, where you can put a driveway in eventually. And this is correct right here where you wanted the extra curb, right? Was on this corner? This is Sixth, this is Second. Yep. So there's a portion of the curb on the radius or near the radius and near his other driveway that we're already removing for utilities. So it'd be this piece in here that would be extra. And basically it'd be the removal and replacement of that curb is what he's asking for that.
So it wouldn't be the whole side, it would just be a portion, is that the?
It would be
There's about 110 feet there. I mean, right now, I'd like it for right now purposes, so I could drive my trailer straight out. Right now, I gotta try to get angled in front of the shop and drive out. So I got 5 trailers there and I use them on a daily basis, so I'd like to be able to go right out towards the street.
Can you show us on there where you're planning on having just that roll curb?
basically isn't, he would like to have it, is the way I understand it, Jamie, is you'd like to have it the entire length of your property front?
Right, because right now, we could utilize it currently, if it was that way, we could just drive straight out with our trailers. Secondly, 5-10 year plan down the road, I want to put 2 more shops there.
And on the other side would be regular curb for the most part.
On the Sixth Street side?
I'd like to
Yep.
leave that alone, because that's kind of a driveway right now, so.
Well, that's on this shop right here?
The one down on Second Avenue.
Behind the Lewis and Clark Cafe.
Oh, okay.
And like I say, what I envision there, I guess as far as cost, I could remove it, I can dispose of the concrete, and I'd like to hire the people you guys have to do the rest of the curb and gutter. I'll pay for it out of my pocket.
So I guess I'd just like to interject there for a little bit. Jamie is offering to pay for it, but, just a little bit of history here with previous projects, and I'm not saying this is the same as, these property owners are already incurring a lot of, costs for assessments, and I think we've worked with them within reason to try to accommodate some of these needs, within the project, and I think he's asking for 75 feet of additional curb for his commercial property to continue running his business here. And I personally, think that's something that we could just add to the project. We previously poured entire driveways for people, along these projects. And, he's not asking for a driveway, he's just asking for the curb here. So, I know he's offering to pay for it himself, but I do think you guys should consider that, historically we've had to try to accommodate these requests from either residential or commercial property owners.
Is there any concern as far as drainage?
No, it's actually a good side to do it on. It's an east-west, as we call it, street and not Hill Street, so it's a good spot to do it.
And they just want to pour them. rough curbs in like up for town?
Yeah, just like a roll curb that you have in front of your driveway, so we could.
Just
pull
a
up
the driveway curb, basically.
Is that the same up all on Northgate?
We might just pour it as regular driveway
Oh.
curb, not
Would we have any concern with the residential area there not having certain places where you would drive out of? You know, or maybe pedestrians or something like that? I just wanna make sure that we've thought about everything before we
Ask that
okay.
again? I'm not quite
Like,
there.
for example, you have houses on the other side,
Yeah.
you know, are they gonna be okay with having entry points all the way along there on both sides? And safety-wise, is that something that is an issue?
And one thing to consider is off-street parking. You're basically eliminating people's ability, residential parking, you know, on that side.
But what happens when I put my shops there? Do I want them parking in front of my driveways? I mean, in front of my garage doors so I can't get out?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that we think of things ahead of time.
And we
before-
did-
When I got trailers parked there, I need to get out, so
Yeah.
right now I'm bottlenecked to that one area.
Yeah,
And when we
So-
did look at that too, the neighbors, realistically, on the other side of the street is really the only place that there are residential houses. And in the time that we've had the shop, we've never, I mean, up to now, we've never had anybody park on our side, you know, on our side of the street. And as far as walking, I mean, we do have an issue there too with that ramp. The current driveway we have, in the wintertime, it's very icy because of the incline. And so if you want to talk about, I mean, it's just, as far as people walking by, it's more dangerous to come down that driveway in the wintertime than it is to come what we're proposing.
I guess why would there be pedestrians there if there's not a sidewalk?
well, I guess I'm looking at it, let's say there's a kid walking through and you can enter the street at any point. You know, sometimes if there's a certain entry or exit point, they know that that's the entry or exit point to stay away from.
Yeah.
That's my point.
And that's very realistic. But at the same point with, you know, especially having 2 young children, we're very cautious when we leave and enter any of our properties. So we're very cautious of other kids. I mean, prime example is going up 9th Street, that corner up at 9th and 4th is horrible for kids. I mean, we have more problems up there than we do anywhere else in town. And so as far as, as far as the entry point, I understand what you're saying, and yet we're still having to be good citizens and not flooring it out of our driveways without being cautious of.
Well, what if I agreed to put signs up, caution, construction equipment coming through, because it's gonna be coming through.
Yeah, I'm not
I mean,
saying that
unless they get rid
I'm
of
against it
water.
or anything like that, I just wanna make sure we've thought of everything before.
I mean, is there any safety precautions that I could take that you'd like me to do? Because I can take whatever safety precautions you'd like to get this achieved.
How far away from the corner does that drive start? Is there a minimum from the corner of 6th in?
Really, as long as you have the radius in place, I think it could start right after that, but I think there's a fire hydrant that's gonna be on that corner.
Is there a code or anything that says where it has to start or stop? I mean,
That's
is there-
just a question. Because I don't know.
And would you expect it to be a no parking area? I suppose eventually when you have
Yeah,
buildings there.
I mean, what's the difference of right here? I mean, right there, I got that whole lot where I pull in and out of all my equipment, and I got right in front of the shop. Nobody can really park along there, or they'll screw up our
Yeah.
business.
Only thing is in a residential area, if they end up having like a family reunion or some people are there, you know, and they're going to park or wanna park on the other side. You know what I mean?
But if that's a commercial lot and he's running a business out of there, you're gonna end up making it no parking.
I mean, and I can work with my neighbors too. If they want to park there, we can sure communicate and we can line something up. So,
I mean, people are gonna park there, but I would hope they ain't gonna park in front of you where you wanna drive out. And if you're just gonna put a flat curb, I guess I would prefer to see you put some kind of an apron on there yet too. You know, so you're not just coming out dirt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you put a 6 or 8 foot apron coming out of there,
Then you have a sidewalk.
huh?
Then that would be basically a sidewalk.
No, just the apron, just like you're pulling into your driveway, right? Okay, yeah.
I know what-
And that's to achieve,
Well, one would be like for runoff or drainage or anything like that, you know? And when you're coming out of that, if you did have to stop, and if it was muddy or something like that, you know, that would help for your stopping and, you know, stuff like that.
well, what I did do is I did kind of burn out the one side of the alleyway, so it actually run out the alleyway to 6 instead of all having all that water run across. Because I had to actually do that because I was getting, the lot was turning mud, you know, getting pretty muddy from all that water coming in.
Mhm.
So I actually put a windrow across there and packed it down so that stuff would go out towards 6th Street and not across the property. So, I mean, I did kind of take care of a little bit of that too. So the runoff will be from my lot, hopefully not everybody else is uphill, hopefully that'll go towards 6th. So,
So with that if you put in just a driveway all the way down Second, so then where does all of the snow and the runoff go? Do you still put, I mean, is it still gonna drain down the street, or is it just, because the shop is up a little bit higher, so then it's gonna be more likely to drive towards Second Street, is that right?
yeah, I mean, I think it naturally curves towards, I actually kind of recontoured the lot a little bit so I could get it to drain out. So it wasn't muddy, I guess, down there, so it didn't have to stand in mud. So I did do some recontouring, and yeah, it's naturally gonna go towards the river, it's gonna go down towards Second, that's naturally what's gonna happen. So runoff being concerned, from what I can tell, that kind of is a gravel lot, or it must have been gravel at one time. And if need be, I mean, we can gravel, we can make arrangements. I mean, yeah, you're gonna turn the whole thing into a concrete parking lot at this time.
Well, I was actually just wondering if once it comes down to Second, then does the line of the water go to 7th? Because there's storm sewer down on 7th, is that right?
Second Avenue drains to the east, towards,
7th, and then comes down 7th.
Yep.
So it would pick up the storm sewer at 7th, and then,
It's not changing any of that.
No.
Yeah, it's not changing any of the way the
Yeah.
water's draining.
Are you gonna remove the snow then, like when we windrow it up? Or you want a snow gate put down that length of that? Because we'll never be able to pull it that far.
I could probably snow blow it, when I move, I mean, because in the winter time, I'm not gonna need a whole lot. I mean, at this time, I'll just not probably need where those 3 trailers sit now, the gooseneck and the 2 tilt beds. I'll probably need that to get out, I mean, which I do now, so. I would say if we could work something out, I mean, if you left a windrow though, I can snow blow that onto,
I just wondered if you needed it, you know, gated the whole way and then where we were gonna put it, as long as, yeah, we'll work it out, what you wanna do.
yeah, that's it. At this time, I guess, yeah, I could snow blow that windrow towards like the stop sign corner, I guess.
Any other discussion? Okay. Do we have a motion on this? Any motion?
I'll make a motion to do this curb with, the intent of putting at least a 6-foot apron on there. That way,
Now we have to figure out on that though, who's gonna pay for it? Yeah, we pay for that? The apron? Okay.
that way, that's gonna limit down anybody coming along and parking next to your lot and not knowing if that's a driveway or not. That's gonna clarify everything, and if somebody is parked there, it's better for you, you call the sheriff, hey, these guys are parked in my way, and you know, then you get them told. Otherwise, if you don't, I see the complication of people parking down there and not realizing that that is a new driveway, you know, stuff there, or, you know what I'm saying? It's just gonna make it, and it's gonna make it look cleaner for you and all that. That's my motion. But everybody else seems that
Okay,
way.
we have a motion, do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second, now we can have discussion.
Like I said, that's
What's your
just,
thoughts, Jamie, as far as?
Yeah, I guess, we got pay to play, I guess whatever it takes. I would like it done for running a business out there, it'd be a benefit to me. I think whomever buys that lot, if I sell it, would have a benefit to this, if they want to put a shop there. So,
And you're talking 6 foot just on that one side? Correct?
Second 6 foot the length of it, whatever the crest curve is.
So even the side that is already depressed?
No,
Just
you're just talking about the
it's
second.
the new stuff,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
the new stuff that he wants
To
to
be
put in,
specific.
that's all I'm talking about.
is that a standard thing is that a standard practice?
Well, I mean, driveways can be many different sizes, you know, depending on what's in town, but
But if you're down in Bismarck and you're in a commercial zone area in Bismarck, is that 6 foot up, is that something that would happen down in Bismarck? I mean, to request a 6 foot apron up from a curb, is that standard?
I mean, I don't know if I can speak on Bismarck's standards, but, I mean, that's kind of the deal I guess you're making here. If they're gonna do something, if you're gonna contribute as well. I see Kip's point, I guess. And it just depends on how long of a distance you want for your driveway, I guess, too.
Right.
Because you'd have to decide that here too, you know, and think of how much it might cost.
Yeah. So at this point, are we saying that I would be responsible for both the gutter?
No, just the apron,
Just the apron?
just the apron, well,
Okay.
cause that street's already being tore up, and we gotta put curb and gutter back in there anyway.
I see
So
your,
it ain't gonna be no additional cost to us to limit that down and run that down. And all we'd be asking is we'll take care of that curb, we'll do that, put it in there how you want it, asking for you to take care of your apron. And that would be it.
and that would make sense, because in that apron, we'd probably raise grade a little bit, so it kind of, would still make grade towards second, but we'd kind of raise it up a little bit, so it wasn't such a,
And that's just gonna add value to your property. And you know, you got a start of an apron coming in there. It's just gonna make it look so much cleaner and nicer for you. And you can, then from that spot, then you can take your gravel and make your parking lot how you want it, you know?
right.
You can limit off, cut your line with your gravel and set up how you want that done. You don't have to gravel the whole thing, you know?
Do you guys set any specification to the grade of what I put that apron at, or is that kind of just?
No, that would be the one concern I have for you, is that then you're sort of tying yourself to that, whatever elevation you do put it at before really building any buildings or.
Oh, so you're saying then he'd have to bring in all kinds of dirt to get your elevation up?
If he puts it in too flat and then the building, then the building ends up here, then he's got to transition to the building. It could go one way or the other, so.
Well, aren't you gonna, I mean, his building he has on there now, he's gonna wanna keep that grade coming off that all the way across his lot, right?
Not necessarily, because it drops as you go towards Sixth. So I mean, you might stair step those down actually, because that is quite a significant driveway coming out that front of that shop. I would never want that grade again. I mean, it's too steep, so it's kind of a slip hazard in the wintertime.
No, sure.
So I'd probably do something like stair step it. I'd probably go a little bit lower than that shop in the next one probably, just to make the driveway not so drastic. So, but yeah, if that's the way, it'll go, I can live with that. If that's what you guys wanna do, I can make that work so I can get that done, so.
Well, like I said, that was just a motion I made. It ain't, these
Any
guys
other-
might have something.
Anything else? Any other discussion by now?
How long, just one more, how long is that curb?
When I wheel it off,
Modified?
Yeah, from when I wheel it off from the driveway that's there now to where the radius starts at 6, it's about 110 feet.
So 110 feet by 6. That's
And
what
then-
you'd have to put in.
Yeah.
What is the length of a normal apron? Is it 6 feet?
And I mean, you have if the city has a standard setback for their sidewalk, which I'm not even sure if you guys do. That would sort of dictate your,
Yeah, the only thing I have, like you say, kind of paints you in the corner of your elevation, and then, you know, what thickness is the guy gonna design? You know, if a guy wants to run heavier equipment over, I guess you almost gotta defer towards the building heavier, I guess, which isn't the end of the world, but, so that's kind of,
We ain't gonna wanna build it lightweight, cause you're getting there through your trucks and goosenecks and equipment anyway, so.
right.
And if you have any semis that come in, deliver big product to you, you know, if you want them to pull in that yard, you ain't gonna want nothing light duty, you know. I know, we got semis of our own and it sucks.
Right.
Any other discussion? Being no other discussion? Reese?
Aye.
Kit?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
And I'll say aye as well. Thank you. Jamie, was there anything else?
No, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
I guess we have to backtrack a little bit, preliminary.
Just a preliminary document that I had sent out. For you to take a look at and see if there's any, to get some of the ideas going. That's, we can go into it further at the next meeting.
Okay, and then,
You got a copy of that, Joel?
I
Can you give
don't-
me, instead of the email, can you just give me a copy of that, please?
is there anybody that has anything for
I'll
us
do that to you.
before we go on? Everybody? Okay, I guess we're back with you guys.
I'll let Eric go kind of give you guys an update on where the project is. You guys all have that sheet in front of you.
Okay, I think everyone's seen what's been going on in town, but just in case you haven't seen everything, I can go through a little detail. For work progress, the sanitary sewer main and services are complete on 6th Street, 8th Street, and 9th Street. The temporary water service was installed, and we have new gate valves installed on the intersection of 8th and Main and on the intersection of 6th and Main. And they have gotten most of 6th Street completed as far as the sub-base grading and compaction, and they've actually put the fabric down on the first couple of blocks and started with the road base. So that's the major items. Most of 2nd Avenue sewer main has been completed as well. Now we're coming up here just to cover the contractor's schedule. They're going to be heading out of town. I think Thursday is going to be their last day. They're going to be heading out for a couple days off. But in the last couple days and the next couple days, they want to keep working on 2nd Avenue sewer and services, and that's what they're doing today mainly. They have a couple of curb stops to fix on 6th Street and 9th Street that were hit with the sewer installation. And then again, the 6th Street fabric and road base compaction, it's got to be finished up.
Did you talk to Dave's crew? Do you know what they're gonna work?
Yeah, they're gonna help out Tino's crew a little bit more on 2nd Avenue.
We had a new crew show up
Services.
this week to help. So I just, as far as schedule goes, they may.
They're actually gonna be heading out again on Thursday with everybody else. There's three separate crews that we're talking about here. There's one street crew and there's 2 utility crews. And they're all kind of lining up on the same days off. So utility crews will be out of town for 6 to 7 days, it sounds like. And the street crew will be out of town for 4 days. They're on 10-day on, 4-day off schedule. So, like I have there on the list, utility crews working until July 21st. And they're off for 5 days, they say now, but it could be up to 7. And they're going to be, because they've been on for quite a bit of days straight here. And they'll be back to work for 26th or 27th. And like I said, the street crew's on a 10 days on, 4 days off schedule. And their next days off starts on the 22nd, which is, I think, it's a Friday. So, that's kind of the plan here going forward.
Any questions on any of that? Or what they've done and kind of where they're headed here for this week anyways?
Do they intend to do the water line down in the coulee down here then?
It hasn't really been confirmed yet, but they're I think at least want to get the valve in over here by 10th Street, a new valve.
Okay.
So they won't tear it up and then leave town.
Because if it looks like maybe Wednesday after work hours is what we're thinking.
Okay, to put that
To
valve.
put that valve in, and then if they're leaving on Thursday, they're not gonna do anything that morning anyway. I'm assuming that'll get kind of worked out tomorrow.
Everything will be buttoned up and sealed up
Yes,
before they leave.
absolutely.
So I think kind of Jamie Weber's item was one of them, but I think Eric has a few other project changes to discuss.
Yep. And there's a few things that we have here to discuss, and I know it's a long list, and I just want to get some general guidance from you guys towards the end of this on how you want me to handle the interactions that I have with locals and some of the requests that they have, because I hear a lot of them. But I want to make sure we're taking the right steps and the commission is aware of what's going on before we do anything. So the first thing we'll talk about is on 9th Street, the water service on 9th Street. There's 2 homes that are served near the alley between 4th and 5th Avenue by a little water service that comes up from the main on 4th Avenue. That water service was hit by the contractor when they were putting the sewer main in. It's a non-standard material pipe that they have, and it's definitely something that I would recommend we replace if we're going to be paving that street, just because if something was to happen or it started leaking when we have a new street, now you're going to be messing up your new street that you just put in. There's 2 curb stops that come off of that near the alleyway, one on each side.
Did they know it was there?
They didn't know it was there, yes.
So they're gonna fix their portion that they messed up, right?
They've fixed it a couple of times already now. It keeps springing leaks because, like I said, it's that standard, non-standard material, some kind of plastic that's not really holding together very well. So I guess what I would ask you guys is if that's something that you'd want to replace.
So right now you have a 2-inch PVC pipe that comes off of the water main on 4th Avenue that runs up the boulevard and then splits off and feeds 2 houses, one on 9th and one actually up on 5th. So it's kind of one of them deals where these homes previously were assessed for water main on the 4th Avenue project. This was treated as a water service, which eventually splits off and, into 2 water services halfway up the hill in the alley. The challenging part here is, if you do start investing more money into this line going up the hill, how do you pay for that? Or how does that get assessed back to the project or to who in the end?
There is not a water district up there.
Right, there's no water
So
district up there.
it's not included in any water district that we have for this current project, so it's not
So running into water lines and fixing them, and if there's a new curb stop put in, and some of that's part of part of the practice of putting in sewer main that you're gonna run into, and that would be part of the sewer district, but when you start replacing lines going, you know, an entire water line going up the hill, that's, to me, that's something completely separate, and, you know, it's sort of the tough part about how you know, deal with these assessed projects in water districts and sewer districts.
So how much of this do we gotta replace? How many feet there, all the way up to them houses?
It would be half a block, and so you're talking about 200.
About 185 feet, and then
What's the cost?
If you put in an actual water main, what'd you figure, about 23,000?
I estimated about 23,000 for it. To go the 185 feet up the road,
That would
and
be-
then 2 services with blue curb stops to those homes. And talking to the contractor, those service lines from the curb stop are not in very good shape at all, but that would be on the homeowner to, if he wanted to replace those.
From the curb stop to his,
From the curb stop to his home, yes.
have you contacted these homeowners and let them know that that's,
They know that there's an issue, because they've complained of low flow. One guy's got a very old half-inch copper line. And he was out of water for the better part of a day when they hit the water initially. So he's well aware of it.
well, I guess on our standpoint, I said that 185 feet, I mean, that's, I mean, we gotta replace that, that's just stupid not to. On the side of the homeowners, oh, I guess I'd like to get their perspective on it, because like you said, from the curb stop to theirs, they're gonna have to be covered with that. But if that's something they don't wanna do, as long as that ain't gonna have to tear up our streets,
No.
when something does happen, then I guess it's none of my concern.
So do we need to move on that as far as adding that?
And then I guess where you want me to add that to the project too, I mean, is that something that gets paid for separately from the project? You know, because I have to tie it to a district.
Is there contingency built in any of that to handle stuff like this? Or very little of that project.
See, all the work that's going on gets assessed to the properties within the district. So this is this is now a water main installation in an area that doesn't have a water district.
I think it would be outside of the project. I think it'd be, we'd have to check with David, but, I mean, our districts are very well defined, and we
Yeah.
always stick to those if you're in the district. It's this, we have the engineer's estimates of those districts, unless you think something
What do you think?
different, but I think it would be outside of the project.
Well,
Maybe we should table it until we find out. How much time do we have?
That's one of the things that the contractor would like to move on this as soon as possible, because like I was talking about 6th Street being almost completed. The street crew would like to start doing the subgrade prep and the road work on that. And if they were gonna do that, we would need to put the water service in first.
Well, how close are you to that 23,000? I know it's an estimate, but I mean, you gotta be more precise than that when you come with this. I mean, you gotta be within $1,000 either way.
I can speak with the contractor again, but I got the prices from him
Okay.
for it, so, unless I could get something on paper from him, but using his prices and measuring it off, that's how I came up.
And that's what he figured, $23,000.
It's for 185 feet of PVC, pipe with, a flange at the end and a gate valve by the 4th Avenue main and 2 water services with curb stops.
Okay, now if we do this, like I said, if we do this, we're covered, right?
You're protecting the street and you're covered into the homeowner's property.
Okay, and then the bad stuff now is gonna be from the curb stop to their houses.
Correct.
Which is gonna be their responsibility.
Correct.
Okay,
Is there a fund we can take this from?
There's, you have your general fund, your repair and maintenance, and, yes.
Any water or sewer type of funds that we have, overages?
I don't know off the top of my head what fund
I
it
hate to
would-
say it, but I think it's immaterial at this point in time. Other than to find it someplace
Yeah,
and
we
do
have
it,
to-
but I mean, I think as far as is concerned, I'll make the motion to approve that 185-foot water service repair.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Do we want anything else on that? That
I'll-
motion with the curb stops and,
I don't know if we need to talk about details with it, just to make sure we repair the service up to the alleyway, provide the 2 curb stops.
Right, no,
Services to the,
Well, I think it's a good thing, it's just a matter of how the city's gonna pay for it.
with
But in
the,
the general fund, we have money there to pay for this. Okay.
And this is a line that's currently leaking, so,
they've had to repair it, I think, 3 times now.
yeah, so, but I think there's, if, correct me if I'm wrong, there's 2 options that the city is facing. Both include having to repair this line at this time. You can patch it, kind of,
You could patch it.
or
You could
push
fix
a new
it at
main.
the alley and leave part of that pipe going down to 4th Avenue.
we're gonna fix it. That's the end of the.
Okay, is there any more discussion, anyone?
Do we wanna have anything with that motion of the limit of the $23,000 that was brought to us from the contractor? Or was the limit of 23,000 not to exceed 30?
Well,
Or is that too much?
25?
Yeah, not to exceed
25.
25. Written, like a
Yeah.
written
So
quote.
you give
Well, we
30, he's gonna take
can,
30.
and that's, I use.
Well, you don't have to know
I
that
know,
in
I know,
motion,
but you
though.
know,
That's just between us right here, you know?
I
You ain't
know,
gonna
I
see
know.
it till next week in the paper by the time it's over and done.
I know, but
Yeah.
25.
If it comes, if it's more than that, we'll come back.
we'll come back.
Yep.
Okay, Reese?
Okay.
Kit?
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
So it was up to 25?
25, yep.
Don't tell.
And I'll get with them right away and try to get that nailed down for sure.
Okay.
So, the next thing was, and I actually drove around with you the one day, and we looked at all these, but you had brought up the handicapped access on the west side of 9th Street from Main Avenue to the pool.
Yeah.
You wanna go explain that, Keith?
Going from Main Street by the pool there, and then, or by the dipper, right?
Yep.
Is that what we're talking about? And then over to the pool, it's not handicap accessible. So do we want to do something there to make sure that it is handicap accessible, so people can go from Main Street to the dipper and to the pool if they're in a wheelchair or have some issues?
Wasn't there a handicap ramp right on this corner?
Yeah, then you're
And
gonna
if
have
they go to the pool, can't
four-wheel
they?
it from there. But the only problem is from there, and then from that point on, it's not handicap accessible.
There's no sidewalk one.
Yeah, there's no sidewalk.
On either side. At least for the first, and I guess.
There's a parking area in front of the iceberg. Okay, it's caught in 2 pages. So, if you're coming down Main and you wanna turn and come down this way towards, here's the iceberg right here, the city's building with the ramp, concrete ramp, and the pool's down here. There's no place for anybody to really come down here if you were in a wheelchair or anything. And
But wouldn't
in
that
front of
be
the
part of
iceberg
the,
is,
wouldn't that be part of the iceberg, their business to make that handicap accessible? And not to the city?
Well, even before you get to the iceberg, it's not handicap accessible.
But there's
Because
nothing
there's
there,
a ramp,
nothing there for them to go to.
the iceberg.
And that'd be part of the business.
But we still have to get them to the business.
They can, okay, you're not making no sense. It'd be like this, saying the school doesn't have to put handicap accessible on your
But the-
bathrooms and stuff.
But the only thing is though, is if the school is handicapped, not a handicap accessible, but, and our streets weren't, we couldn't blame it on the school. You know, our sidewalks. we still have to have handicap accessibility at least to that point.
I don't think so, because there's nothing that they need to get to. If they're gonna go to that store, they go to that store, and then that
But-
business should make it handicap
But
accessible.
just think though, is like if I'm on this corner here and I'm going to go to the Big Dipper or whatever it's called now, and before I get there with that building there, I can't go on my wheelchair, even if the iceberg was handicap accessible, I wouldn't be able to get to that point. So how would I ever go into that business if I have a handicap? Because the city's prohibiting it because that area is not handicap accessible. You see what I mean?
I see what you mean, but it is, yeah, whatever.
Anyway, that's why we're talking about it, to see if that's something, because if we're gonna do it, we need to do it now to make it accessible since it's gonna be open.
What's the cost on that?
Well, I don't know if you estimated that one.
I didn't estimate that one.
We'd have to, you know, you have that offshoot parking again, we'd have to take that out and put in a sidewalk down, because we can't put a sidewalk in because of the ramp on the city building. And they need that ramp over here, so we'd have to basically build out in front of that, and then we'd take away some of that.
We take
I
my
think-
parking.
I think Eric talked about something to do with that ramp, though, didn't you, to
Well,
change it just a little bit?
we are redoing that ramp, within the project already. But we would have to, like Jasper said, we would have to establish a boulevard and take away that off-street park, or that parking area to be able to do that, to make a sidewalk.
At least, at a minimum in front of the city building over there, and sort of go back in front of the restaurant there.
So you'd be taking parking away from the iceberg?
No, from us.
From,
You know, where the fire department comes rushing in by our little building across there, those 2-3 spots, and then we got our garage on that side, that's the spot that they wanna take and use that.
We're
You'd
just
still,
sitting in
you'd
front
still
of
have to
iceberg,
allow,
too.
you'd still have to allow room for the ramp, for them to go up, but there would be a sidewalk going in front of that if we did something to have handicap accessibility.
Would there be a way to bring the ramp up on the other side?
Like on this side of the street over here, at the opposite side of the street from the restaurant?
No, on the same side as the iceberg, but instead of it being on this side, it'd be on this side. It'd be more of an incline though. And we could put railing up.
See, the trouble we have though is if.
Why would we put railing up it in our
Well,
business?
I mean, they would have to, but I mean,
See, the trouble is though, is if they're on Main Street, are we going to make the people, if they are in a wheelchair, drive on the street to get around over there? That's the.
well, they'd almost have to go like park by the alley, kind of an alleyway and then, just an idea.
I see what you mean though,
Yeah.
Keith, I mean, it does, but
We just wanted to.
to me, all
brainstorm a
I'm
little
hearing
bit
is
to
like
see.
$100,000 minimum.
No one's disagreeing.
And I'm probably even cut short on it.
no, I don't think it's a major cost, because we're already redoing the curb here, we're putting valley gutter in here, so we're really just changing what we're doing. We're paving part of that, now we're moving the curb, taking some of the valley gutter away, taking some of that paving away and doing sidewalk. So it's almost kind of an exchange of quantities of what we're doing there. I just think it's more of a, is it something, you know, you're gonna take away some of that parking area there. And then, you know, are we going to continue sidewalk beyond, you know, the restaurant? Because we can get sidewalk from Main, you know, to the, you know, to in front of the restaurant there, and then, you know, they have concrete going for a while, which
Mhm.
could
They got-
be used as, which we're redoing that whole section anyway. And then at that point, you get to the, basically the alley, or close to the alley, and then there's another boulevard there. And what do you wanna do at that point?
I suppose before we discuss it too much more, we should probably have a motion and a second, so that way we can do discussion if we want to proceed or not. So do we have a motion?
I'll motion so we can discuss that we do the handicap accessible on 9th Street and Main.
Okay, I'll second for the same reason.
Okay, so the the sidewalk then would be going in front of a garage door, an overhead garage door, is that correct?
Correct.
Are we gonna run into problems though with people walking in front of there?
The sidewalk
People
would be
are-
out from that overhead garage door, because you still have to have the ramp coming down, you know, and then in front of that ramp, we would establish the sidewalk.
So all we would be doing is we make handicap accessible from here to the alley, and then they would be responsible for getting it to the next step, the businesses, or the business one, right?
Yep.
So we'd be adding a sidewalk pretty much in front of the business, kind of where that sidewalk is now at the.
So the sidewalk will go in front of our ramp to the garage over there?
Yep.
So is our equipment going to break the sidewalk? Do you promise?
Nope. No, we would do it as a driveway slab in front of the.
Any
So
other-
how would that come down? It's gonna come down flat and then come down again?
That's what it would have to do, yeah. I mean, the door, the floor already is up pretty high to your guys' shop, to
There's
the door.
a lip that high that you just jump out the door.
So how steep is that gonna get, you know, that much more now that you,
They're gonna have to lengthen it quite a bit.
Yeah.
yeah, so
I guess my concern though is with kids, you know, it's out, somebody's backing a vehicle out and, you know, that's a place for children. That's kind of my concern, I guess.
Anybody else have any?
I would encourage someone to look at the ADA guidelines, because once you start saying that you're building a sidewalk that's handicap accessible, someone better be pretty aware of what ADA says. Because once you start to redesign something, it needs,
Yeah, that's why we hired these guys.
well, they sound like they may be a little unsure. Because I've tried to put sidewalks in front of garage doors at high-rise office buildings, but we couldn't do it because of the traffic flow. So with this being a government facility, that may be our hiccup that we're running into. So I'm just throwing caution to the
Yep.
wind.
Brian, how often do you use this door? How many times a month?
They'll drive a lawnmower out, riding more, probably once every other day. Just a small more. We don't usually drive any pickups or anything, and none of that.
here's a better question, how bad do we need that door there?
Well, we have to, because otherwise we could never get the fire department. We have to move all the fire trucks out when we move the Bobcat or any of that other stuff.
So it's a needed door that really isn't used that much.
Say a bid would be nice, a proper bid. Because you don't know the
And
cost.
this- Yeah, and this would be part of the project.
Sure, we can put that together. Like I said, I don't think it's gonna change.
Oh, you don't think that it'll change the price of the project much?
No, because I think you're exchanging things.
You're eliminating asphalt and you're changing from a valley gutter to more sidewalk. You know, you're just reconfiguring what we had planned to put there initially.
And so there's no impact to Iceberg? Got lost.
Well, there'll be,
For the businesses
They'll lose
parking
those
for
parking
Iceberg?
spots by the city.
In front of the city.
So how many parking spots will she lose?
2, 3?
They park in front of the door, so 3.
So what does everything?
And on the flip side, again, sidewalk access to their business.
Is this something we maybe want to discuss, bring up to them though? To Iceberg?
Yeah. The only thing is though, is I'm not sure if handicap accessible should be their decision. You know, leaving it up to them whether handicap accessible is more important than parking.
True.
So anyway, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, Reese?
So was the motion to approve this, or just to discuss this?
It was to approve it,
Okay.
so we could discuss.
Aye.
Kip,
No,
Noel,
Aye.
Well, I'm worried
Get
about-
Get the coin.
I'm worried about that round too, I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually think we can make the round better.
I think you open a big can of worms.
You gotta take a look at it.
Yeah,
Next.
it won't be for the
All right,
person in the wheelchair.
the next thing, on the project, there's a number of approaches near the railroad. We're putting new storm drain pipes underneath, 8th Street, 6th Street, and there's a approach that's just to the west of 6th Street. Brian, whose house is that, where the approach is by the railroad? Pauline's house. When we did the application to the railroad to get a permit, or just approval to do that work, they're okay with the 8th Street and 6th Street crossings. They looked into it and they realized that there was not a boulevard, that there was an approach that shouldn't be there. Well, it's theirs that they put there initially because it's where the old crossing was, just west of 6th Street there. So the railroad, the only thing that they would approve is if we would just remove that approach completely. They wouldn't let us put a pipe in the ground like we initially planned. So my question to you guys is, do you want us to proceed with the work as the railroad requested, which would be to remove that approach completely and reestablish a ditch and grade it? Or do you want to just leave it the way it is?
I guess to give you a little bit of, to back up just a little bit during design, we preferred to actually just remove that approach, but we were sort of accommodating the fact that the resident has a garage back there and has probably used that approach for a long time, but it's really the railroad's right away and it's their decision, and if they want to take the approach of it, it's not, you're really going along with what they're saying they're willing to approve. And doing the other work doesn't improve any drainage if we don't do some, that's the last one, so that's the one we have to improve the drainage through. Otherwise everything upstream is useless, so. I think they can still get in and out of their garage, it's just not
Yeah.
gonna be, it's gonna be a little tighter.
Just a little better. Anybody have a motion on that?
Can I say something?
No.
So what does she take in and out of that? It's not just a garage, it's a very large, do you guys know where it's at? It's, more Quonset size.
It kind of limits her, right now she can pull in out to the railroad track and then back into her garage. If they take out that approach that bumps up against that railroad track, now she's gonna have to do some pretty serious job, depending on how long her trailer is to get back in there.
Does she have access from 2nd Street at all? That's her only access to that garage?
Yes, yeah, she doesn't, it's gotta come back through there. I doubt she'll ever be hauling or doing trailers or things like that in the back, but it does kind of limit her.
So what happens if we say that we're just gonna keep it?
Nothing. If you want to leave it the way it is, you can leave it the way it is.
But the drainage benefits that we designed for
wouldn't be
the
able to do
whole
the full-
area
Yeah.
are now.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve that railroad approach west of 6th Street.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, Reese,
Aye.
Kip,
Aye.
Noel,
Aye.
and I'll say aye as well.
Okay, the next one is on Riverside Park Road. There's a few things that wanted to make sure we talked to you guys about. Was right in front of the riverboat there's an older piece of curb. It's about 100 feet long. That is a lot lower elevation than the newer curb that was installed more recently. in the newer, the elevation drops off real quickly from the newer curb to that old piece of curb. And basically for the contractor to build the road using that older curb, it would cause a lot more grading work, and it would make it look a lot better and work easier with their plan is if we could just remove that curb and put new curb in that lines up with that newer curb that was put in. So it would save money to do that, but it's something that's different than what the plan was, so I want to make sure that I talk to you guys about it.
So yeah, the road kind of tilts like this through one spot. The contractor's saying, if you just put curb in higher on this side, it'll be a lot less expensive than lowering this side.
And do you need a motion on that, or can you just? Okay.
When we get to the end here, I mean, well, we'll have a discussion about how to proceed with these changes going forward. But yeah, I mean, that's why we're presenting all these different changes, because they're different than what was in the original scope.
So, I'll move to remove and replace 100 feet of concrete to save the regrading costs. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Please.
Aye.
Good. Well,
Aye.
and I say aye as well.
And the second part of that is, as you go down Riverside Park Road towards the end by the boat ramp road, the whole road narrows a lot into a choke point. And the original design was to have at least 22 feet width on that road, which we do have on a lot of it. But it narrows down to about 14 feet, maybe even a little bit less. And the idea was to have the contractor come through and scoop out a little bit of what is, there's no road base there, and then bring in some road base so we can at least have an 18-foot wide road through there.
To the park, to the rivers, not the
Yeah, it's about
riverside.
200. It's about 200 feet from the end. It's a 200-foot length of the road.
What's the cost on
It would just be for square yardage of 200 feet by 4 feet, so 800 feet, times the price for road base. We had
Can they use
$12
some of
per
the-
square yard on that.
Can they just use the millings?
Yeah, they would use the millions for that to widen it, in which they have millions up the road from there.
That should be minimal, right?
It would be very minimal, but again, I wanted to make sure that I bring it up to you guys.
Okay.
It'd be, the cost to benefit would be good.
It shouldn't cost us anything if they're using our own stuff.
Just the work to, from the equipment to widen it, because they're hauling out extra dirt.
Do we have a motion on that?
How are you
Would
gonna
be
widen
about-
that without digging in there, cutting into that bank?
Which bank?
They're not really cutting into the bank, it's
Well, how are you
just,
gonna widen that road? You gonna dump off into the riverside and make it wider, or are you gonna cut the bank out and
No,
make
they're
it
just
wider?
making sure there's
road base,
road base
because it's
up
grass right
against
now.
the high, on the high side.
You just said you wanna widen it out.
Widen out the road base, not make it a larger, flatter area, but widen your road base, so you can actually
The
pave
area,
on top.
the area is wide enough, there's just not road base all the way
Oh,
to the
okay,
edge.
alright.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So it'd be like, it would be about $1,100.
So
Okay.
moved.
Yeah,
And a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Good. Reese?
Aye.
Kip?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
Aye. One question for you. When we first did this project, maybe it was part of the project, didn't we talk about, got a pretty tough culvert down in that area?
Yeah.
Is that being replaced, or? Okay.
The next thing is Gary Fuchs, and the next three items actually are all residents that had come to me to ask for certain things. And Gary lives up on 5th Avenue, right by 6th Street there. And he has his camper that he parks right alongside of his garage. And he was hoping that he could get a piece of the curb removed and replaced with basically a driveway curb, so he could move his camper up there without driving over the top of the regular high curb. So basically to saw cut and remove the extra curb, you know, you're looking at the extra money, the $13.20 that I have there. And this is something that would be
So it's
to
a
his benefit.
curb for him for his camper pad. The thing that I guess is different about this one is we're not actually doing the street in that area. We're only doing about half of that block of Fifth, and where he's requesting this to be done is not in a location where the street's being done.
And you guys are replacing some curb.
All the way up
to his driveway, yes.
But this is on the other side of the driveway.
I guess if he's willing to pay for it. I don't see that would be our cost if he wants to improve his deal for his camper. I can't foresee us paying for that.
Was there something on that though about, I thought there was something where you guys, we weren't doing something further down, so this was kind of a swap or not? Am I thinking wrong?
I don't know that we were doing something further, you're talking about further down Fifth Avenue?
Yeah, further down his road, towards
Like
the
seven?
end of his block.
I don't believe that we're removing any more curb. And because it was, again, it was something that is not in the original plan, that's why I wanted to bring it to you guys to see if that's even something you want to entertain or not.
Well, that seems like a lot for a small portion of curb.
Well, it'd be in front of his, from where we're replacing to the piece of where his RV sits. So it'd be that length in front of his driveway, his
It's
existing
his
driveway.
whole driveway is
Yeah.
what the price is there.
Oh, okay, that was the thing. The
Yeah.
end of his driveway wasn't draining properly.
The piece that we're actually fixing in the project is the
Yeah.
one that did drain. Is the
Okay.
piece that did drain.
Because his driveway was poured all the way out to the asphalt without a gutter or curb, basically, so it.
The $13.20 is removal and replacement of 40 feet of curb. That's what $1,320 comes out to. 40 feet of curb removed and replaced. And they would have to saw cut through his driveway too, which he understands. That's extra work too, I would have to make sure the contractor would get done.
With that
Otherwise-
40 feet, that's just for his camper pad.
That's his camper plus right in front of his driveway, because to make that to drain.
Nothing to do with what we're redoing.
Nothing, it's nothing to do with what's in the
Are
project.
we doing the apron on his driveway?
No.
No, we're not.
We basically end right where his driveway starts with the street work.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion at owner's expense, he can have this done. Would be my motion. If that's the right one or not, I don't know, but
I would second that.
Any discussion? Okay, Reese,
Aye.
Kip,
I,
Noel,
Aye.
and I.
So I'll make sure that Gary knows that if he wants to do that, it'll be something he works out with the contractor. We discussed Jamie already. The last one that I have is Chris Heitman. He's on Second Avenue, the dead end portion of the road, just west of Sixth. He would like to have a driveway installed. He doesn't have a driveway right now. There is, the cost would be $2,740 is what I estimated. $340 of that would be for extra curb removal and replacement. Now that's the cost for the whole driveway if you were to put a driveway in for him. And he had first requested to can you just remove the curb for me and I'll do it? But again, this is something I want to bring up to you guys to see how you want me to handle residents on their requests for different things, because you can see that it comes out to, when you add up concrete removal costs with installing new concrete, it kind of adds up.
I know we had issues over in our area when, you know, I don't know what you call it, skirt or whatever, would get tore up a little bit and it got replaced. Are we still doing the same thing for these residents on their driveways? So as you're, you know, a lot of times when you're doing a street, sometimes
still
you're
doing
square.
the aprons.
Aprons, okay.
And he doesn't have a driveway right now at all.
Oh, okay.
So he would want the curb to be removed and a driveway installed. And I've only talked to him about it. Now, if he wants to come and pay for it, that might be something he wants to do too. I just kind of need to get some feedback from how you guys want me to handle it.
Well, you know how the last one went for $1,320.
I'm thinking that if we don't approve it, we don't need to make a motion, do we?
So,
The request would die from the lack of motion.
So anybody got anything?
I'd just say it'd just be the same as last time, at the owner's expense to do it, that's.
okay, good. And the next bullet is the direction on the way to go forward with requests when I have people come up and talk to me on a daily basis about their property. And the feedback I'm kind of getting from you guys is, if they want to do improvements to their area, whether it's a driveway or sidewalk or curb, then if it's not in the scope of the project, it'll be something on their own expense.
Well, I will say if it's in the project and there's a bad sidewalk, you know, you can probably get a hold of Turk or anyone else, and if it's a bad sidewalk in the project, we should replace it. You know, does that make sense? You know, I mean, if we have an unsafe sidewalk, you know, I think our city employees can take a look at it, and if it is tough, we should probably take care of that as part of the project. Same thing as if the construction company, you know, does something to an apron, that should be replaced. It should be as good or better than it was before. I don't know if that answers any questions, or, I don't know what you guys think, but I know, you know, if the sidewalk's in tough shape, you know, and it's unsafe, we should probably, this would be the time to do it.
I'm just worried about if they tear out that sidewalk, split into two parts of the driveway, how much, you know, I'm worried about how much they'll tear up, or maybe possibly chip up or break on the driveway side of it, you know, then we'll end up having to,
Oh, I see what
you
you
know,
mean.
replace that part of it too.
By city ordinance, the sidewalks are the homeowner's responsibility to throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's why they all.
But in previous projects, that's not how we handled it.
In 2013, there were sidewalks that were in need of actual repair, but because the scope of the work did not move into the sidewalk area, they were left intact as they were.
Because if
in
I'm not
poor form.
mistaken, we've already approved some sidewalks in this project.
You can see how it's kind of tricky though when
Yes.
I have people come up to me and talk to me about, hey, can I get this fixed, or hey, can I do this, and, or can I do that? So I just want to make sure that the commission is aware of what's going on and the requests that are out there. So I'm telling them the right information. So otherwise I could have long lists of stuff every meeting for you guys to
It'd be a
discuss.
private request.
Right.
It's good they wanna make it better, but that's, yeah, it's private.
And it's something you can always, if there's a question, you can always bring it in front of us and
Yeah.
we can figure it out. You know, because you hate to just say no. You
Right.
know, it might be a good idea.
And I guess one thing too is, you know, this is a long list this time, and it might not be this way every time, but I know, like for the 2013 project, the commission enacted like a two-person committee that could make some of these calls on, you know, $1,000 item, so that we wouldn't be, you know, here for an hour discussing a bunch
Right.
of small items on
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
that's still-
multi-million-dollar projects, but
And that's still intact yet, I mean, that didn't go away.
it was more or less, I think there's a pretty small price limit on it, but it was basically, I understood we were to let the commission decide, you know, everything as far as project changes go, but
I thought it was their the person with the portfolio and, yeah, for the small money part of it though, what, do we go 2,500 or?
Just left it out. I think it was 15.
15?
In the past, out of the office, we have taken a very standard approach that if there was anything outside of the scope of the project that needed to be done, that it was, they could contract it and then coordinate the time and the efforts to get it taken care of for themselves, but it was not folded into the project. Now, I guess if it's something that, you know, you guys as engineers felt that it was more, you know, to the benefit to be in the project, that's a different situation. But in the past, all driveways, extra house connections, sidewalks, curbs, the homeowners were able to take care of that outside of the project cost.
Yeah, driveways and hookups obviously would be, you know, their responsibility. Sidewalks, you can always come back and talk to us. Can't figure it out.
Just a quick question, when they're coming to you with the private request, is that taken away from your time, focus on this project at hand? Or is it just miscellaneous?
Coordinating with the public and residents, that's part of my job. So I should be communicating with them and talking to them. It's just the decision-making capability. I can't tell them, yeah, I can do your driveway, or yeah, I can do your sidewalk. It's something that you guys are paying for it, so I'm gonna bring all those requests to you to see if it's okay to do. But I most certainly will coordinate between them and Joan and you guys here, so.
Question for you guys, which is a little bit off the subject. I was just thinking, you know, like today, 4 or 5 hours, electricity was off. And it was brought to my attention, is there anything that businesses could do? Because, you know, they lost 4 or 5 hours of income. And as far as that construction company's insurance,
if they wanna file a claim, they, you know, I'm unaware of how that process would work. I haven't dealt with that, but I assume there's a way for them to file some sort of claim.
you know, because some people had just shut down some probably shut down for the day thinking we were working electricity till 9. Other people shut down for 5 hours, 6 hours. You know, that's a day of income for them, right? You know, I don't expect you to have the answer, but maybe.
I'll find out for you though.
What had happened there?
One of the dump trucks was working on 6th Street, and it dumped out, slowed, and it started going down the street, and the one time forgot to put his box back down. And he'd probably driven underneath that overhead wire 1,000 times, and one time he forgot. He snagged it and took 2 poles down, so no one was hurt on it, but yeah, it's a pretty costly mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, good with that, yeah.
Okay, anything on that? Anything from you guys? Thanks, guys.
What about the sewer backup?
Yep, still G and H there.
Okay.
So I guess some of you are aware, some of you aren't. Over the weekend there, I guess you're all aware of the storm that probably came through on Saturday. Filled up the contractor's trench, ended up backing up the sewer on 2nd Avenue. 8 homes.
8 homes were affected.
8 homes were affected. Sewer water in their basement. They had cleaning crews here over the weekend and today, and the contractor and Eric and Joan and many people involved, I guess, went door to door and talked to the residents and trying to work it out with them and get the repairs, to clean up and the repairs organized, I guess, at this point. I do think that, in all honesty, the new crew that came into town is probably going to be the more permanent crew. So they're looking at making some changes. I guess, anybody else has any questions on that?
We're not gonna have the same fiasco as we did last year, are we?
It is the same fiasco.
I know that part, I mean with the insurance.
Yeah, I think what we learned from last year is that we need to have some patience and let the process work itself out. I think in the end it did, it just,
Right.
we all wanted it to be.
It should have been
worked out.
sooner.
We all wanted it the next day and wanted answers, and it just took longer.
And
And so far, and I think they're handling it a little bit better. They're at least, they had their superiors here today to go around and actually meet with people. And so it's a little bit different, but once you get the insurance company involved, that's kind of a whole different ballgame too.
And Joan, you went out on Saturday night and went to residences and stuff?
Saturday afternoon.
I think that's commendable, so,
Brian and Kim were there also.
thank you.
I guess I have one last thing, and this just goes back to the bonding discussion at the last meeting, and just put kind of a quick summary together of total estimated project costs. That would be the top table. Estimating kind of a $2.8 million total project costs. Really what I'm getting at here tonight is wanting to finalize a bonding amount. So in that second table, I put together a bond, I guess 2.8 million showing, but so far I think, and Keith had mentioned that you've secured about 200,000 of 1 cent sales tax. I think that you guys do anticipate probably having a little bit more city funding to put towards it, but at this point, that's kind of what we know you have. So I guess I would like to proceed, or have the bonding people proceed with a $2.6 million bond.
Motion.
Yes.
I'll make a motion for the bonding to proceed at 2.6 million.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. Motion and a second, is there any discussion? Any discussion? Okay. Reese?
Aye.
Aye.
Kip? Noel?
Aye.
And I say aye as well.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Okay.
I'm gonna say table number 14.
Yep, that's what we just talked about. We're gonna table employee disciplinary form, and it's just a generic form. They can be filled out if there are any issues or anything happens. And then we'll go on to portfolios. Reese, do you have anything for yours?
Updates on Memorial Hall floor. They had replaced some boards here this last week, and sanding will start later this month. I don't have any hard date on that. But still learning about buildings and grounds, of course. And then on the 21st, I'm going to meet with the Airport Authority to learn a little bit more about that. So really no updates, just that's what.
In regards to the hall over here, Dwayne had asked us to try to do some regrading or something to help with the water coming in. I just don't see that that's the problem. So I guess I haven't been here when it rains to see if the gutters are actually working, but there's pretty good slope coming away from the building, so pouring a stoop or a sidewalk in front of it might help, but I think you guys should look at whether there's some sort of other issue, and make sure the gutters are working first. Because we can put more slope there, but all of a sudden it's going to be like this, if we put much more. To me, it seems adequate to shed the water and get it away from the building.
Okay.
Do you have it, Brian, do you have any record, go ahead, okay.
Okay, Kit?
I got nothing.
Okay, Noel?
This doesn't really fall under my portfolio, but it was brought to my attention that over the weekend, there were go-karts going both Saturday and Sunday. So,
We did talk with Daryl Shrevsky. It was
Yeah.
just his kids who were driving them. He was up there working on equipment.
Okay.
And so,
So no issue as of right now?
not with us, no.
Okay.
Some of the other neighbors might have questions, but as far as we're concerned, Daryl's answers were perfectly acceptable.
Okay, just keep us updated.
Okay.
Then we, for human resources, we ended up having meetings with all the employees, Noel and I did. We talked about some different things that we can do differently. We talked about some training that we're planning on doing, whether it's accounting or you know, just human relations, whatever it might be. And different things. I thought they went very well. We will be doing evaluations, I think we said in November.
or earlier.
Yeah, somewhere in there,
Earlier.
yeah. So if there's anything at all, just let us know. But we're trying to, all of us are trying to be proactive and so just make sure anything, let us know.
So just a question, is that gonna be an annual review?
No, I think what we'll do is we're gonna try to do 2 per year.
Oh,
In the past, we did 1 per year. We're gonna try to do 2 per year. So, and that's all I've got. Turk, do you have anything else?
No, other than that pile of trees and the asphalt, they've inquired as to what to do with it. We have a little bit of our own, we were left over from last year. We've done some sweeping for this company, and we're hoping to exchange that to get rid of that asphalt, because nobody wants it.
Okay.
And we don't have very much, but I would think what we've done is, for as far as sweeping it up after, would more than compensate for them taking a couple loads out.
Okay, that sounds good.
And there may be some problem with, they had a lot of dirt back there that day you were talking about that.
Yeah.
That one guy had pushed some over, he was from a different crew, they didn't know about it. He thought, I should just push it over and level it. I'm thinking Richard Perkerath is still gonna want his little ravine, that little piece that's not done, I think he's gonna want that filled in. I don't know that, but I just thought I'd let you know.
Okay.
That he may ask them to put something there.
Oh, okay. Sharon? Joan?
Special assessment hearing is on July 25th at 6:30 at the Memorial Building basement. So that'll take place, and then the special assessments will be coming to you guys after that. And then we just need to take care of the Renaissance Zone and the library portfolios.
I think we've already decided. Before we get to that, is there anybody have an issue or anything at all for us? Okay. Okay, we have to do Renaissance Board, I guess. Do we have a volunteer? Any volunteers?
The Renaissance Board is the Renaissance Zone Authority. We meet one time per year, otherwise we meet, and that's a mandatory thing, or mandated by the state that we have to gather. And then otherwise we meet on demand when someone has a project or something that's going on within the Renaissance Zone, we approve the projects. And that's generally just a lunch meeting that we meet over whenever the committee can get together. So that's a low impact.
Anybody interested in that?
Well,
Okay, give us some. Do we need to make a motion on that?
Library.
I move that we have appoint Kit to the Renaissance Board.
Well, second.
Any discussion? Reese?
Aye.
Kit?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Now the Library Board.
I move that we appoint Reese to the library board.
I'll second that.
No problem.
Any discussion? Any discussion, Reese?
No.
Reese?
Aye.
Kit?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
And I say aye as well. Anything else? Everything good?
Bills.
Okay, bills, that's right. Has everybody had a chance to look at the bills?
Yes.
Everybody did?
Yep.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the bills?
Motion to pay the bills.
Okay, do we have a second?
I have a second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion? Reese?
Aye.
Kit?
Aye.
Noel?
Aye.
Aye. And if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thanks for living through my goofs.
You did awesome.